For years, BTS built an untouchable empire marketed on female empowerment, mental health advocacy, and progressive social commentary. But recently, that exact image hit a massive wall after members were spotted backstage posing with Chris Brown in Toronto, right alongside rolling out a high-profile corporate partnership with Google Gemini. The online reaction was instant chaos. On X and TikTok, former loyal supporters are calling out what they describe as undeniable double standards, while others insist the outrage is completely overblown. When global icons cross paths with controversial figures and massive tech conglomerates, where does brand strategy end and accountability begin? The internet is officially split, and the receipts being pulled up right now don't just expose a corporate slip-up, they completely obliterate a 10-year moral illusion. And it all started with a single photograph. The internet didn't lose its mind over a bad photo. It spiraled because Kim Namjoon and J-Hope built their entire brand singing anti-capitalist anthems like Bepse and Paradise. When you market yourself as an authentic grassroots movement from the United Nations podium, moral purity is your product. But BTS runs on HYBE money, a massive corporate machine that cares way more about quarterly profit margins than moral integrity. And the moment that corporate transition fully locked in, that progressive product started expiring in front of our eyes. The first massive crack showed up with their global partnership with Google Gemini. To independent artists, AI isn't innovation, it's stolen labor and massive environmental drain. And BTS's core fanbase? It's practically made of independent illustrators, digital creators, and freelance writers who have spent the last 2 years actively pushing back against generative AI encroachment in creative industries. When promo materials dropped featuring BTS endorsing Google's AI tools, the timeline on X went into instant meltdown. Longtime supporters wasted no time pulling up direct receipts, specifically pointing to group leader RM, who famously delivered a fierce anti-tech bar on his 2022 track All Day with Tableau, explicitly rapping the words, "Forget the AI, forget the algorithm." And if you thought RM's sudden case of corporate amnesia was bad, member V took it a step further into full-blown dystopian irony. Campaign films showed him casually asking an AI chatbot how to fix personal relationship conflicts. Because apparently, after a decade of telling millions of young girls that their emotional struggles matter, the corporate solution in 2026 is go talk to an algorithm. It's performative healing at its absolute finest. Selling algorithmic convenience completely undercuts the intimate, human-crafted narrative that built their credibility in the first place. Was this just an out-of-touch corporate misstep? Or does it prove that the decision-makers behind the brand are entirely detached from the actual values of their audience? And if you think selling an AI chatbot is bad, wait until you see who they were shaking hands with in Toronto. During a high-profile tour stop in Canada, photos surfaced online of RM and J-Hope hanging out backstage at Rogers Stadium, casually posing for pictures with Chris Brown. For millions of female pop fans, Chris Brown is not just another legacy R&B singer, he remains one of the most notoriously documented figures associated with domestic violence and severe legal controversies spanning well over a decade. The reaction across TikTok and Reddit was instant fury. For years, the BTS brand was specifically curated as a safe, emotional space for women, built on themes of gentle masculinity, mutual respect, and emotional security. Seeing 2 senior members of that exact group smiling shoulder to shoulder with someone carrying such an extensive history of documented abuse felt to thousands of longtime listeners like a direct violation of trust. A phrase quickly took over trending feeds on X: "I am a woman before I am an army." The situation turned even more toxic when Chris Brown personally escalated the tension, leaving an aggressive, dismissive comment telling concerned fans to go pray about it on TikTok. Let that sink in. While millions of fans were losing sleep defending these men, the man they were defending was literally laughing at them in the comments. And the most disturbing part? This wasn't an accidental run-in. The receipts suggest this was calculated networking. Defenders argued that a quick backstage snapshot is simply industry etiquette, while critics fired back that in an industry run by hyper-vigilant PR teams and multi-million-dollar management firms, playing the ignorance card in 2026 is an increasingly flimsy defense. If you're tired of creators making excuses for rich celebrities, hit that subscribe button right now, because what went down next is pure chaos. Instead of holding millionaires accountable, the timeline cannibalized itself. The moment lifelong fans tweeted that Chris Brown is an abuser, they were doxxed, harassed, and told to leave the fandom by people who claim to stand for world peace. Dissenting voices were immediately branded as fake supporters or clout chasers. On community forums, former dedicated organizers expressed sheer exhaustion over the double standard. As one longtime fanbase admin posted on X, "We spent years defending these men against bad faith media attacks, and now we are expected to defend things that fundamentally violate our own personal morals." Let's talk about the sheer emotional labor here. Millions of women spent years treating these men like safe, gentle protectors who understood their pain. But the second these idols crossed paths with a documented abuser, who had to do the damage control? The women. Defending millionaires who wouldn't spend 5 seconds checking who they're taking selfies with. The collective gaslighting in those comment sections wasn't just messy, it was exhausting. Here is the ugly truth behind the curtain. Big Hit didn't just grow up, it mutated into HYBE, a ruthless corporate machine where activist lyrics are just another line item on a quarterly earnings report. Through massive Western acquisitions, alliances with high-powered industry executives like Scooter Braun, and multi-sector tech expansions, the core priority permanently shifted to quarterly shareholder returns. Let's be real, mega corporations don't do social justice, they do brand synergy. And BTS? They're not victims of the system, they're the main attraction. Which brings us to the ultimate contradiction. How can this group have the backbone to fight the Recording Academy, but zero spine when it comes to Silicon Valley? Yet, while they fiercely challenge institutional gatekeeping when it affects their legacy, they remain completely compliant when it comes to high-dollar tech deals and toxic industry handshakes. Were those early socially conscious anthems a genuine moral manifesto, or simply a brilliant market entry strategy designed to capture a loyal demographic? Now, as the dust settles, a noticeable, quiet exodus of longtime listeners is underway. The fans who grew up alongside these artists are finally accepting that their former underdogs have fully assimilated into the global celebrity elite. At that level of wealth and institutional power, celebrities almost universally prioritize elite industry access and corporate alliances over grassroots political consistency. The receipts are documented, the contradictions are out in the open, and the protective illusion has fractured. The era of assuming global pop icons share your personal ethics or economic interests is coming to an abrupt end. As millions of listeners step back to re-examine their attachment to these brands, the real question is what remains once the curated halo finally disappears. The truth hurts, BTS didn't change, they just scaled up. And once an activist movement becomes a multi-billion-dollar empire, your morals aren't their mission, they're just their target demographic. So, are you separating the art from the artist, or just giving millionaires a free pass? Drop your thoughts below, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into internet culture, and I will catch you in the next one.